Hey friends, so as you can see, I've got quite a pile of stuff on my desk. Some has been fussy cut already, some bits of dome stickers, ribbon and stuff that I haven't used. I'm just popping that to the side. I've got a couple of ranges here, a bit more stuff that I have used, but I've still got a fair bit, so I don't want to just throw it away. I also have on my desk a Celebr8 mini album, the 8x8 mini album, and added to that I also have 2 pieces of graphite cardstock which have been cut to, I think it was 11.5 by 10 inches. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this. Popping this to the side quickly, and these 2 pieces I'm just going to join together. Reason being, I don't want a white outside on my mini album, and I also like a little bit more around the edges for folding in. Right, so just joining those 2 together. So I always put down my little piece. So I've got a 23-inch piece of cardstock which I'm going to pop to the side. I'm going to open up my mini album, and I'm going to take out the 2 pieces of hardboard. Just remember, when you do the Celebr8 mini album, you need to use the original Ultimate jig because the cardboard is pretty thick and heavy. So I'm taking out that one, just leaving it on my desk, and I am going to tape the edges. I always like to do the edges right on the edge so that it sticks beautifully. And then I'm going to pick up my thicker tape. So I'm going to use my 3/4 inch tape. And I like to cover my spine. So I'm doing 2 pieces of 3/4 inch. Done with that. But use what you have. And just a reminder to use a decent quality tape. Okay, so there's my spine taped up. I'm now going to do the cover. And then I'm going to put a couple of strips I did try a project recently using glue instead of the tape, but to be really honest, I didn't love it. Just didn't seem to hold as well. You can use glue and tape, so that's the first one done. And I'm going to break this video into a couple of parts. So part 1 will be making up the base album. Let's see how far we can get without any flaps. Hopefully only take us half an hour or so. Part 2 will be adding the flaps, and then we'll do the pages also in parts. So I'm not too sure how many we're going to have by the end of this. Okay, so just making sure those are stuck, and then moving them to the side, just so that I can now remove my piece of tape. I'm going to take my old ruler and I'm going to cut a super thin piece of tape, cut it in half, and I'm going to put one little baby there and one little baby there. And all this is going to do is it's going to hold my ruler in place to hold everything level. You can buy some fancy tools. Yeah, if it makes you happy, do it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure up to the inch line, which is there. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, this is a bit scruffy, this ruler. So I'm going to put the center on the join and an inch down. Okay, so centers on the join and it's an inch down, and then I'm going to stick it. My ruler is then going to be held in place by that little piece, and in the center. Okay, before I do this, this is 3 inches, so I'm just going to position my ruler on either end and mark halfway, and it's just for me. Just remember that these, when Celebr8 have them cut, they are cut in centimeters, so they might be a fraction off, but it's not going to change anything. So just find the center basically. So I'm putting my mark on the 6 and I'm putting my other mark on the join at the top, and I'm popping that down. So next I'm going to pick up my 6mm tape, my 1/4 inch tape. There it is there, it's 1/4 inch, and I'm going to pop a piece on either side of the spine. Because this is quite thick, the board is quite thick, I'm not going to put it like right level with it. I'm leaving a small space on either side. So again, you don't need fancy tools. If you just use your 1/4 inch tape, your 1/4 inch tape will be your guide. It's going to give you your measurement. Okay, so I've got my 1/4 inch on either side. Now I'm going to come in, remove the tape, get rid of all your offcuts, and I'm going to give it a little bit of space, not putting it right on top of the 6mm. So there's like probably 1/2 mil, I don't know, it's small. So I've got that one lined up on that side, and I'm going to line this one up on this side. Now the offcuts that I've chosen to use are all relatively new ranges, like the last couple of ranges. But you could honestly, you can use any of your leftovers lying around at home. I know people are cash strapped at the moment, so this is a way of still being able to make a mini album and using up all your bits and pieces. You could, I'm using all Celebr8 ranges. You could use any range that makes your heart happy. Okay, so I've got those down. I can now remove these, and I'm going to just take that bit of tape off. And I've given you some extra. I might probably could have cut this down a little bit, because I'm cutting off 1/2 inch on that side, and I'm going to cut off 1/2 inch on this side. So if I look at this, 22 inches would have been absolutely perfect. So 11 inches by 10 inches would have been perfect. Next up, I'm going to pick up my 1/2 inch tape. I think I'm finished with those two for now, so let's get them off my desk. Going back to my 1/2 inch tape, I'm going to put a piece there. Piece there. Piece there. And one over here. And you'll notice that I haven't gone right to the corner. The one I did a little bit further than I needed to. But generally I stop with my tape in line with the hardboard. Great, easy peasy. Next up, picking up my scoring tool. I'm just going to score. Oh gosh, that's Gab's awake. All the way around the outside. And for those of you who don't know, Gabby's my 19-year-old cat. She lives in my craft room with me because she's totally blind. But she's still in good nick. So, yeah. Right, so I've scored all the way around the edge. And why that is so that you can actually see the score line. Okay, it's just going to help me with my fold. I'm using a miter jig. If you don't have a miter jig, you're going to miter through the corner, leaving, in for this board, you're going to leave at least a 2 mm gap. So I'm using my miter jig. These are available from me. And if you're in Australia, they will be available from Jenny again. We're getting some sent over in February. So if you're in Oz and you're wanting one, you can get from Jenny Heslop. Right, so I've marked the corners. Just going to fold the 2 long edges, and then I'm going to make a little zip so that I can get the tape out easily later. I'm going to remove the tape on the long side, remove the tape on the other side. I'm just taking my silicone score burnishing tool, and I'm just giving it a little press to make sure it's all perfect. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to pull the top in. At the bottom here, we're going to push that one in. I will bring it up to the camera to show you. So I'm pulling that side in and I'm pushing that side in. Okay, so all it's doing is it's pushing that piece in. This was a parallel, there were 2 parallel lines. You can see there's now a slight indentation. And once we've done that, we can remove the tape and fold. remove the tape and fold. And again, I'm just going to use this to give it a nice finish. You don't have to. But there basically is the outside of my album made. Super easy. I'm going to pop that aside. Then I'm going to my pack. And I'm going to pull out all the bits and pieces. Alright. So I'm just going to tick off as we go. We've used A, we've used B. Okay. C are my pages, the 8 pieces of them. So I'm just going to take some little notes that I've cut and just mark everything. So C are my pages, so I'm just going to tick off to say I've got those. D, okay, let's go to G first. G are my flips and flaps and stuff, so I'm just going to get another piece that's marked. Okay, so that's G. Right, over here we have the longest piece, and this piece should be 11 inches. Yep. This H piece, that H is going to be my hinge. Sorry, I'm just looking for my pieces. Okay. This is E, which is 10 1/4. Okay, this is E, it's 10 1/4 by 9. And this is going to be the outer covers which we're not using. So I'm going to label it outer cover because I'm going to use it with my internal pages. I can use it. It's not going to waste. Okay. This little guy, this square, 7 inches by, hold on, this is 7 3/4 or close to 8 inches. So 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. These are my inner covers. And then these little guys, 7 by 7. These are my inserts. So I'm just looking for my piece marked inserts. Back inner cover, back side. I've got everything excepting inserts. Okay, so don't stress about that. Let's just make another one because we don't want to get ourselves confused. So we have lots of this brown. We're going to stick that on there. And using our Sharpie, we're just going to write inserts. Okay, so now I shouldn't make any mistakes. Inserts I don't need yet. Inner cover I don't need yet. Outer cover I'm not going to use at all. Well, I'm going to use it, but not for what it needs. I'm going to start off and I'm going to use my hinge. Now remember, when Dennis made this, he gave us a template, which I'm not going to use because I'm going to actually shift this down slightly. And we are going to work off the board. Okay, so I'm going to score at 2 inches. Then I'm going to score at 2.5 inches. And then at 3 inches. Alright. Then I'm going to score at 3 3/4 inches. So that's a 3/4 inch. I'm going to score at 4 1/4 and 4 3/4. Then I'm going to score at 5 1/2. Then I'm going to score at 6 and 6 1/2. Then I'm going to score at 7 1/4. I'm going to score at 7 3/4. And I'm going to score at 8 1/4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I should have at least 2 inches left, which I have got 8 1/4, 9 1/4, 10 1/4. So I've got some extra on this side. Okay, so if I go through those again, 2, 2 1/2, and 3, then 3 1/4, 3 3/3, 4 1/4, and 4 3/4. And then we've got another 3/4 gap. We've got 5 1/2, 6 and 6 1/2. Then I've got 7 1/4, 7 3/4, and 8 1/4. Okay, hopefully you got that. I can put my scoreboard away because I don't need it at the moment. And I'm going to flip it over onto the back side. And I'm going to just mark them off for you. I don't think you can see the score lines, but there's hinge number 1. This is going to be my gussets. 3/4. This is hinge number 2, and this is my gusset. This is hinge number 3 and my gussets. This is number 4, and we don't have another gusset. So I'm just going to check that my working out is it's worked out correctly. I've got 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch is 1 1/2, plus 3/4 is 2 1/4. So we're going to have a smaller place front and back. I'm okay with that. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it up to show you. I've got hinge number 1, gusset, hinge number 2, gusset, hinge number 3, gusset, and hinge number 4. So I am going to put tape on 1, 2, 1, 3, and 1, 4. And I generally choose the bottom one. I just find it easier. There's no particular reason. But I try and get into like a little bit of a routine when I'm making these, so that every time I do it, it's the same. Okay, so I'm taking my tape. And I'm just popping it on that one between the score lines. So I'm making sure that it's right between the score lines. If you go over the score lines, you're going to have funky folds, which you don't want. So keep it between the score line as best you can. Right, so I put my tape. We're now going to join up the pairs. So I'm going to join this pair with that pair. Folding it over. I'm going to use my burnishing tool. Just give it a nice burnish. Remove the tape. Fold back. And burnish. And your first one is going to look like that. Okay, now I'm going to join those two together. So the two number 3s are going to be joined together. Okay, so you've now got your 2 hinges forming. We're going to join our 2 number 2s. Make sure everything lines up and it's neat. This is a slightly easier hinge than I normally use. Okay, just going to burnish that. And then finally hinge number 1. You see I work methodically as I go. I do the same thing so that I achieve what I want to achieve. Opening out. Okay, so we now have 4 hinges. It looks like that. There they are there. They're all facing one way, so I'm just going to go through and fold them so they're open like so. Okay, so the base of my hinge is done. let's go through and use a 1/4 inch tape. Now the reason I'm using 1/4 inch tape is because this is only 1/2 inch. I normally would use a 3/4 inch piece. This is only 1/2 inch, so I need to only have a small piece of tape. If I put a 1/2 inch piece of tape down, you're going to have to push the pocket page right down, and your pocket page is not going to move nicely. So taking this, I'm just popping it sort of in the middle. And normally I would take it over the edge, but in this instance we're not going to be marching or anything, so I'm actually going to cut it. Right. So I'm probably sort of in the middle of this. I'm going to try something because I hate sitting and cutting both ends. I'm just going to fold it like so, because then I can come back and neaten it off. It's a bit of a waste of tape, but the final one. Alright, so there's the front of my hinge ready to go. I don't have to do anything else. The page is bigger than the hinge, so when it fits over, it doesn't need to be mounted. It's not going to join up so that you haven't, anything needs to happen to it. Flipping it over onto the back, and I'm going to use my 3/4 inch tape. So I'm going to start with the middle gusset. And again, work neatly with this. Make sure you've got no tape sticking out. You don't want tape sticking out, because when you put it into your album, you will have that tape sticking out the edge of your hinge, and you don't want that. Okay, so I'm using the 3/4 inch tape because my gusset is 3/4 inches, but you can use 1/2 inch tape. It's going to make it a little bit easier for me when I start removing tape. Okay, so I have a little problem, Houston, so I'm just neatening it up straight away. Okay, it didn't cut off neatly, not too sure why. So I've got those two pieces done. This side, remember, is 2 inches, this side is slightly over. I'm not too fussed about that. I am going to continue with my 3/4 inch tape, so I'm going to put a 3/4 inch there. And a 3/4 inch on the end. Remember, this is what's anchoring your entire album to the outer cover. So again, make sure you use really good quality double-sided tape. I use the easy tape, and I use the brown paper because it's a polypropylene tape or whatever, but apparently is suitable for Durban climates. So anything that's got loads of humidity, you want something that can withstand the humidity. If you use the cheap stuff from China Mall, you're going to get what you paid for, so your album will kind of come undone. And you're spending a fair bit of money, even though we're using offcuts. You're spending a bit of money to make these albums, so you might as well just get the correct tapes and stuff. Alright, so the back of my album, the back of my hinge is prepped, the front of my hinge is prepped. I'm just going to move this little out the way because I no longer need that, but I do need this. So I'm going to remove those two pieces of tape that were here. And because this is a 4 hinge, they're 4 hinges as opposed to 3 that I normally do, I'm going to have to find the center of this. So I'm going to use my ruler and I'm just going to put it so it's kind of on the score lines, and I'm going to make a little mark at the top and I'm going to make a little mark at the bottom that I can write it at a later stage. Whoopsie, the top one is in the wrong place. So you're marking on the 3/8. Okay, you've got a 3/4 inch, so you're marking on the 3/8 line. I just marked on the 1/4 inch. Like, really? What was I thinking? Okay, so I've popped a little mark there. So 3/8 of an inch is halfway and 3/4. Little mark there, and literally it's a little mark. And now all I'm going to do is, whoopsie, throw my 3/4 inch on the tape on the floor. I'm going to remove that middle piece of tape only. Okay, so there's my middle hinge, the middle gusset. I'm only going to remove that piece of tape. Going to take all the stress out of adding. Okay. The other thing I can do is I've got probably a 1/4 inch, about a 1/4 inch gap. So I'm just going to put a light line. Okay. And I'm going to work off that. When I'm happy that my line is straight and the line is straight, it's quite nice using a color, the graphite against the white, because you can see it. When I'm happy, if I do apply a little bit of pressure down the bottom, I can still wiggle it. Okay, and once I'm happy, I can just apply pressure over there. My hinge is stuck to my album. It's not going anywhere. So what I can do now is open it up, remove my tape, and just pull that down. You can pick up your tool and just burnish. Just be really careful that you don't tear your paper. Now I can flip it around because I'm a right-handed person. I want to work so it's on my easier side. And my hinge is now stuck in my album. So what I can do next, pop my fingers in there and fold, turn around and the same, pop my fingers in there and fold. If you want to, you can use the back of your scoring tool. You'll see I've got it down like that, and you can just press lightly. Don't press too hard, you don't want to break it. I also often take it and just fold it over from both sides to make sure that it's stuck well. And that's the base of my album made. When I say the base, that's the base with the outer spine, the spine and the hinge. So next up, I'm going to pick up the two pieces that are in a cover. I've got them, I may as well use them. And also I don't know yet what I'm actually going to stick where. I'll only decide that once I've made the album. Okay, so it's going to look pretty cool. I'm going to pick up my glue and we're going to hope like crazy that she works. Alright. I don't know why I turned it over. I mean, it's white on white and it's the same both sides. You could use tape here. I'm going to be a bit lazy. It also speeds up the process. I'm going to apply glue. And I'm just going to stick her down, making sure she's got sort of equal all the way around. I can remove my sticker. See, again, old habits die hard. I'm so used to using cardstock that has a right and a wrong side. Got my glue on. And she's stuck down. So the outside is a really pretty graphite and the inside is white. It's not going to show the dirt. I'm going to pop that to the side because I want to make the base pages quickly. I'm trying to get into the habit of putting the lid on my glue. I should be putting my 3/4 inch tape as well, but that's sitting on the floor. So I'm now going to pick up my pages. And with those, again, I need my scoreboard. So we're going to mark these little guys all the same. They're 7.5 inches by 8 inches. So I'm just going to score each one at 7.5 inches. Okay, so those are all done. Going to pick up my tape and I'm just going to tape in that 1/2 inch section created by the score line, and I'm going to go as close to the score line as possible. Okay, so there's my score line there, and I've taped close to it. Don't go over it, but you want to be close to it. You want the page to seal. I'm now going to work on the back just purely so I can see where the score line is, and I'm going to miter the score with the corners. So from the score line, I'm going to miter in on all 8 pieces. The reason I work on the back is it's just because it's easy to see sometimes, or it's easier for me to work that way. I generally try and put the scissors into the groove created by that score line so that I start in the right place. It's not a massive miter. The only reason we've got it here is so you don't see where the page is joined together. Next up, I'm just going to fold those over. Okay, so I've just folded it like so. I'm going to do that on all of them. And then I'm just going to burnish. I use the edge of my desk to help me, so I've actually pulled it towards the end of my desk. Let me see if I can just move my camera to show you. Okay, so I pull it towards the end of my desk, and I just fold it down. Just helps it to go straight. Okay, so getting back onto the right place. I've now marked it, sorry, I folded those. Just going to go through and burnish. And they're all burnished. Remember, I did this one in the beginning. So there, they're all ready, prepped to go. Try and get them all sorted the right way. And I'm going to pick up the first two. So I've got the two. And whip this off. Okay, so I have kind of picked them up and popped them down so they're together. You need to flip it over to keep it on the side that's easiest for you to work on. So these are called pocket pages, and the reason they're called pocket pages is because they make a pocket. First one done. Okay, so I'm sticking tape side inside, lined up. Just make sure you don't move them as you put them down. Flip it over. Pocket page made. Page number 3. Lined up. I generally put my hand, you'll see how I put my hand on it to hold it flat. Flip over. My pocket pages are made. There are the 4 of them. Ready to go into my album. I generally start from the back of my album, and this is the one time that I do use a clear Tombow. It gives you a fair bit of wiggle time, and I always try, even though I know they're going to fit, look for the best side. Kind of try it on, make sure it's going to fit beautifully so I know where to position it. And if you want to, you could draw a little line that you could rub out later. Once I know they're going to fit and they're working beautifully, I'm going to remove tape from just one side, not both. And then I'm going to come in with a thin bead of glue. So I'm going to work from the tape towards the folded section, like a really thin beaded glue. What that's going to do is it's going to give me some wiggle time. And then I'm going to pop my page on, and I'm going to take it down so that it's about 1/8 of an inch off the fold, and I'm also going to line it up, making sure it's nice and neat before I give it a push down. Take your time with the first one because you're going to line the other 3 up with this one. So if we've got this one nice and level, those are automatically going to be level. I don't need to try these because when I do them, I make it so that the hinge and the page is exactly the same size. But for this, I know they're going to fit because we've got enough space, way more than we need. So I'm just doing another thin bead of glue. Choosing the best side to go in the front. I'm going to pop it on. Line it up and stick down. Okay, so those, make sure you line these up. Remove glue. Try and get this on. Line it up. Remember to keep that little gap from your hinge because otherwise your hinge is not going to, it's not going to flap nicely. And finally the front one. Pushing it on, lining it up. It's a little too far off. And line it up. Okay, so my pages are all beautifully in alignment. I can put my glue away, don't need that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip them over and I'm just going to put my knife in and pull that release paper out. Pretty easy, it's not a difficult task. And my base album is now made. You'll see there are 3/4 inch gaps between the pages, but there's only 1/2 inch front and back. We could modify that, but it would make it a little bit more difficult to do your scoring. So I'm happy with that. My base album is made. 47 minutes, 50 minutes, and I've got an album made. I'm going to do the inserts on the next video. So thanks for watching.